Why did some of the greatest civilizations in human history disappear without leaving a clear explanation behind? For decades, textbooks have given us simplified answers: war, famine, drought, or political collapse. But real history is rarely that neat. What truly happened to these advanced societies is a complex mix of environment, human behavior, scientific change, and even accidental events that no one at the time could have predicted. Today, we will explore the real reasons ancient civilizations vanished so suddenly, reasons far more fascinating and far more human than school has ever taught us. To understand why civilizations rise and fall, we must shift our perspective. A civilization is not just a city or a kingdom, it is a delicate ecosystem of people, resources, beliefs, and technology. All of these elements must stay in balance. When even one fails, everything can collapse far faster than anyone expects. One of the clearest examples is the Maya civilization. For centuries, the Maya ruled large regions of Central America with sophisticated mathematics, written language, astronomy, and massive stone cities. But around the 9th century, something changed. Within just a few generations, major Maya cities were abandoned. But contrary to popular belief, the Maya didn't vanish. Their descendants still live today. What collapsed was not the people, but the system that supported city life. The leading theories include overpopulation, exhaustion of farmland, prolonged droughts, and political instability. But the most important factor was the one no one controlled: climate variability. When the rains stopped for long periods, cities dependent on constant water storage simply could not survive. Their collapse was sudden because their stability relied on precise environmental conditions that changed too quickly for adaptation. Another striking case is the Indus Valley civilization, one of the earliest urban societies in human history. Its cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, had advanced plumbing, standardized brick sizes, and complex trade networks. Yet around 1900 BCE, this civilization declined and eventually disappeared. For decades, historians proposed invasions or internal conflicts, but modern scientific analysis tells a different story: the shift of the monsoon seasons. Rivers changed course. Some dried up, some flooded. Without stable water, agriculture declined, trade collapsed, and cities slowly emptied. What makes the Indus Valley story remarkable is how peacefully the transition seems to have occurred. There are no signs of war or destruction, just gradual adaptation as people moved east toward more reliable water sources. In other words, the civilization didn't die, it migrated quietly and systematically. But climate is not the only force capable of destroying entire worlds. Sometimes it is human behavior, especially when small decisions accumulate over centuries. The Easter Island civilization is often used as an example of environmental destruction. The popular myth says the people cut down all their trees to build statues, leading to starvation and collapse. But the truth is more complicated. New evidence suggests that the Polynesian settlers faced rats that consumed tree seeds, making forest recovery impossible. Combined with internal conflict, limited land, and European diseases arriving later, the population shrank rapidly. The collapse was not foolishness. It was a mix of invasive species, environmental fragility, and contact with outsiders. This teaches us that civilizations are vulnerable not only to what they do, but also to what nature does to them without warning. One of the most dramatic disappearances in history is the Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BCE. Within a single century, nearly every major civilization in the Eastern Mediterranean fell. The Hittites, Mycenaean Greeks, Kassites, Mitanni, and even parts of Egypt. Cities burned, trade stopped, writing systems vanished, and entire populations disappeared from the archaeological record. Historians once blamed mysterious sea peoples, but we now know that multiple crises overlapped: severe drought, massive migration, internal rebellion, earthquakes, and disruptions in trade networks. Bronze, a vital material at the time, became harder to produce when long-distance tin trade collapsed. Imagine a world today suddenly unable to produce steel or electricity. Societies dependent on fragile supply chains can fall quickly when a single link breaks. The Bronze Age collapse shows how interconnected civilizations can all fail together, not through one cause, but through many small pressures happening at the same time. Sometimes, civilizations vanish because they become victims of their own success. The Roman Empire was enormous. It stretched across 3 continents, controlling different cultures, climates, and economies. Managing such a massive system required constant military spending, political unity, and stable borders. But no empire can expand forever. The pressure of maintaining distant provinces, combined with internal corruption, economic inflation, and invasion by migrating tribes, gradually weakened Rome. But again, Rome didn't fall in a day. It slowly transformed. The Western Empire faded, but the Eastern Empire Byzantium continued for almost 1,000 years. Civilizations rarely disappear instantly. More often, they change shape, merge with new cultures, or move their centers of power until the old form no longer exists. But one of the most overlooked causes of collapse is technology itself. When a society becomes dependent on a specific technology and that technology becomes unavailable, collapse can be sudden. The classic Maya depended on lime plaster to build structures which required vast amounts of wood for heating. Over centuries, this created severe deforestation. When firewood became scarce, construction slowed, agriculture weakened, and social order broke down. Similarly, the Easter Island society may have relied heavily on canoes for fishing. When trees became too scarce to build new canoes, food availability dropped dramatically. In the modern world, the same principle applies. If a society becomes dependent on oil, electricity, or digital infrastructure, a disruption could cause instability. Another factor is political fragmentation. When leaders lose legitimacy, when factions fight for power, or when inequality becomes too great, civilizations fracture internally. The Khmer Empire builders of Angkor Wat collapsed partly due to internal uprisings, failing hydraulic systems, and war with neighboring states. Their massive water network, once the source of their strength, became too complex to maintain during political turmoil. The system they built to survive became the system they could no longer support. Finally, there is disease, one of the most powerful forces in human history. The Aztec and Inca empires fell not simply because of European conquest, but because of smallpox, measles, and influenza diseases they had no immunity against. Populations dropped by as much as 90% in some regions. With so few people left to farm, govern, or defend, their civilizations collapsed faster than any army alone could achieve. So why do civilizations vanish? The truth is, they rarely vanish for just one reason. Most collapses are a combination of environment, technology, politics, economics, and disease. But they share one theme. A civilization collapses when it can no longer adapt faster than the challenges it faces. This lesson is not just about the past. Today, our world is more interconnected than ever. A drought in one region affects global food prices. A disease outbreak can disrupt entire economies. A technological failure can shut down cities. The The same patterns that shaped ancient collapses still shape our world today. History is not a warning, it is a mirror. And when we ask why ancient civilizations vanished, we are really asking whether we are prepared to face the same forces they once faced. Because in the end, civilizations don't disappear because they are weak. They disappear because they wait too long to change.